Thank you so much. And we are good to get going shortly. And once again, you're almost welcome to day 2 after we launch AFROHUN officially here in Uganda and across the globe. So moving forward, I am going to hand over to our dear facilitators for session 1 of day 2 under the country showcase and success stories. Dr. Tara Kelly from the One Health Workforce Next Generation Global AFROHUN Liaison from the University of California, Davis, is one of our facilitators this afternoon and morning, depending on where we are. And our other facilitator is Mr. Timothy Wakabi, our very own here at the Secretariat, who heads the monitoring and evaluation arm. So without wasting any more time, let us delve into business. And it's my pleasure to hand over to Dr. Tara Kelly to take us through this specific session. Over to you, Dr. Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tara Kelly, and I am the AFROHUN Global Liaison for the One Health Workforce Next Generation Project. And Timothy Wakabi and I are very honored to welcome you to this session 3 of the AFROHUN showcase on the second day. And at this time, I would like to invite Professor Kabasa to share some opening remarks. So over to you, Professor.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Dawoodi, my name's in a short version. On behalf of the consortium, I would like to welcome all of us to this second day of our session, to congratulate us for the successes of day 1. We had a successful launch, and the day was wonderful and great. I want to thank you for every effort that you have put in and wherever you are. It's a very exciting day to see us transform from OSHEA to AFROHUN and to embrace a continental agenda with a close global responsibility. We are going to proceed with the conclusion of the showcase, but briefly, I would like to simply highlight that we as AFROHUN are moving to a more integrated approach, where we are seeing the hubs in the 9 countries, the 18 or more universities that will come on board, playing our coordinated effort, bringing our synergies together, our competences together to contribute to the overall global health security agenda and set free the continent that is enslaved in the chains of these pathogens and transboundary diseases that rock the economy and the public health of the people. We have learned lessons from the last 1 decade, and this has been synthesized in what is going to be presented by the next speakers. But briefly, key lessons have come. We want to see our global One Health Academy from the AFROHUN perspective, delivering the accredited professional training. We are going to see skilling centers or skilling hubs working together more and more and contributing to the academy. We are going to see more innovation clusters emerging in form of clubs and others that will come up, but we want to see more innovation driven by young people. We want to see think tanks. We see our academy presenting think tank platforms in different domains that contribute to the global health agenda. And we want to see research, generation of knowledge, discovery, and providing solutions in epidemiology, in therapeutics, in diagnostics, in vaccinology, whatever that our different consortia will be able to come up with. So we are excited and looking forward to this next phase. And we really welcome our partners from the global community to help us strengthen the agenda of the Academy of AFROHUN. Welcome, and let us speak to the future and build a team together. Thank you very much. I hand over back to you, facilitators.
Thank you very much for your remarks, Professor Kabasa. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Irene Naigaga and Professor Dele Ogunshishan to share their vision for the AFROHUN One Health Workforce Academy. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Irene.
Can you come and help me present what is there? Okay, good. Thank you so much, Tara, for inviting me to share. Professor Kabasa has already given a brief overview about the academy. So I'm going to speak to the AFROHUN One Health Workforce Academy concept, the concept that we are promising to deliver to the African people as we reposition from OSHEA to AFROHUN. So I'm going to talk about the academic vision, and also I'll highlight a little bit about the academic structure. Regarding the vision, as Professor Kabasa indicated, the AFROHUN One Health Workforce Academy is going to integrate the African capacity to coordinate the global health security agenda. So as we indicated in the video during the launch, that there's a lot that we've learned, but at the same time, the network is only located in 9 countries. So we desire to bring our services closer to the African continent, to different countries. So we are going to integrate this in the academy. We are going to integrate the lessons we've learned and coordinate them into few but very high impact programs that we are deriving from the lessons that we've learned. So we're going to, in the process, we are going to pull the strength of the network members. We also have a wealth of partners that we're going to work with and consolidate those lessons learned together. And then the academy is also going to offer a platform to coordinate this capacity. So regarding the technical structure, the academy is going to be operationalized in 5 pillars. The first pillar is accredited training programs. These are professional programs that we are going to offer at different levels. We are going to have the International One Health certificate. We're also going to have customized One Health professional short courses. We will also offer under this the continuous professional development programs. So under pillar 2, we'll be talking about what Professor Kabasa actually termed as the skilling centers. So these are the different One Health experiential learning models that we are going to implement. Under that, we have what we call the One Health demonstration sites. These are different field sites where we run experimental, multi-sectoral, collaborative approaches to solve problems, multi-sectoral complex problems. So under this, we'll also have the field simulation exercises and tabletop simulations. We'll also implement One Health fellowships. Under Pillar 3, which is the Student One Health Innovation Clubs, this is where we are going to offer students, not only in the member countries, but this will be open to all African countries and our global partners who will be interested to join and participate. So we'll offer students global One Health competitions. The next session is going to demonstrate some of these experiences that we've had over years, but also student grant challenges. We had one grant challenge during the outbreak, in the thick of the outbreak of the COVID-19. So these opportunities will be there for students to take advantage of and practice One Health, much as they will not yet be in the field where these opportunities are offered. Then Pillar 4 is the communities of practice. So under this, we are going to have students, faculty, and different professional think tanks under different thematic areas. Then Pillar 5 is research, where we'll offer multi-sectoral grant opportunities, research streams, and we're also planning to have a One Health, the Africa One Health Journal. So these are some of the opportunities that we are promising to offer the continent into and our partners into the future. So how is this structure going to be operationalized? Because it's going to be operationalized by the pool of experts within the continent, working together with our partners. So conceptually, this is our operational structure, how it's going to look like. We will have a technical advisory committee, which is already in place. And I'll be unveiling some of the members. The committee has already sat a number of times. The committee at this point will oversee. It's going to offer leadership and strategic direction to the entire. And the 5 pillars will be operationalized by what we are calling the technical working groups. So training programs will have a technical working groups. We'll also have a technical working group number 2 for the experiential learning models. Then the Student One Health Innovation Clubs will also have a technical working group. The communities of practice and research will have a different technical working groups. At our last sitting of the advisory committee, different names were approved, and we'll be sending out letters requesting for members to serve on these committees. So these members who are going to serve on these committees will come from the country experts or champions that we've built over time, but also from our partners. I'll talk a little bit about this. So this is so far the team that is sitting on the advisory committee, and of course led by Professor William Bazeo, and then different members who are bringing different strength to the academy. So we still have 2 positions to be filled, and this will come from different experts who are needed to offer technical support to this committee to fill up different gaps. Like I said, the technical working groups are going to be drawn from our country teams, also from here, the region office, from the consortium partners, different expertise, and also from external specialists that will be reaching out. So in a nutshell, this is the promise that we are going to, that we're excited to deliver to the African continent as we reposition from our share to AFROHUN. Chair, I submit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Irene. Professor Dele, over to you.
Mute, okay.
There we go.
Thank you very much. And I should be able to share my screen. Hopefully that is enabled in a minute. while we're doing that, thank you so much, Professor Kabasa, Irene, and Tara. It is a great honor for me to participate in this launch of the AFROHUN brand. But it's not a brand in name only. You have all worked together to build content for the One Health Workforce Academy. And we don't have a lot of time this morning to explore in great detail, but today we are doing a soft launch of the Academy, and Irene went through the structure and the focal points for AFROHUN One Health Workforce Academy. The global consortium really strongly believes in South-to-South collaboration, that this academy has to be recognized internationally, not just in the African continent, but that the way that we're building it, there is a compartment that is reserved for the sister network, SEAOHUN, and there is a central meeting point that the global consortium nurtures until the academy matures, and we have a common feature, governance structure, and function that attracts people from Africa, from Europe, from Americas, and certainly Asia. So the most important point I want to communicate to you this morning is to congratulate everybody and to welcome comments for you to visit those within the network, our working in progress website, the One Health Workforce Academies, which is pluralized because we are building one for AFROHUN and one for SEAOHUN, and a main site where we share resources. As Irene mentioned, the AFROHUN One Health Workforce Academy will feature the 5 pillars: training, experiential learning, students, communities of practice, and research. These are all going to be built to be self-sustaining. The journal, for example, open access, would have a fee generating mechanism. The main component of the academy is that trainees come here to gain a credential that we are calling the One Health certificate, which is accredited across the countries and is subscribed to by people who are working in various domains of One Health anywhere in the world. It is important, this is a year 2020 where we will have a lot of commentaries written in history about the 2020 vision. We want this to be a sharp vision, and we also don't want to regret anything that we left behind in a 2020 hindsight, which is always better. So I want to encourage you to help us think through, as the Technical Advisory Committee is meeting to deliver its promise, that we have great buy-in from all the stakeholders that will be involved in really shaping the academy to what we envision. This includes, of course, the AFROHUN leadership. I was delighted to see really a rich diversity of leaders present yesterday and today, that the faculty members who deliver the training buy into the academy. Trainees are the clients of the academy, both in service and pre-service, and we want them to visit regularly and to know that there is value added to the package of training programs that lead to a credential and continuing professional development credit. This will be attractive to employers, and we want, of course, to make sure that the other academies that are thinking along the same lines, global and international, FAO, ORE, WHO, African Society for Laboratory Medicine, United Nations Environment, and we've begun to collaborate with many of these and have preliminary discussions with them. We also have a wide range of One Health coordinating bodies across countries and regions that we are hoping will come on this journey with us. The certification program is a cornerstone, and we began working with our SEAOHUN colleagues. And this is an invitation to the Technical Advisory Committee that we have to do a similar engagement with stakeholders for the Africa region very soon. So I just wanted to share with you some of the results of the survey that we did in SEAOHUN to give you a taste for the level of enthusiasm that we are expecting across all of the stakeholders as we move into 2020-2021 academic year. In SEAOHUN, we sent a really nice survey, I think, to a wide range of stakeholders in all of the countries in SEAOHUN. We got 79 responses, a lot from Indonesia and Thailand, but the original countries participated fully. This is the wide range of expertise and employment that they represented. Again, very representative of One Health in terms of interdisciplinary and cross-sectoral. Many of them have received training, but we also see about a third that are curious and have not yet engaged in training in One Health. And we asked them about skills and competencies. Many of these are in the same modules that AFROHUN has spent decades developing in your universities. And clearly, people responded to the necessity and engagement of these competencies in their workforce. We also wanted them to think into the future. What is that 2020 vision as we move forward, thinking about our experiences now with COVID-19. Again, all of those competencies that we're currently developing are important, some more than others, but we're now engaged in our consortium in defining and reviewing all of these competencies to know if we're missing anything and if we will be able to add or consolidate some of these domains. So we will establish, as part of the Academy, an international board of One Health examiners that will help us more clearly define a set of core competencies for the examination that trainees will take to earn that certificate, and for in-service trainees to be able to receive continuing professional development credit to maintain their certification. We also asked about the certificates precisely. As you can see here, 91.5% of all respondents are very enthusiastic. It will be beneficial for the workforce. So we know we're on the right track. For continuing professional development, again, almost 90%, 86% said yes, this will be very important. We asked about the website. Again, overwhelming majority said yes, they're excited and that they would be able to acquire the training in One Health. Do they expect to be rewarded for getting a One Health certificate? This is an area where we want to push the green bar even further. It is positive, but I think there's still uncertainty in how employers reward and employ personnel with training in One Health to be at the forefront of pandemics and spillover events such as we're witnessing right now. Personally, almost all of those who responded said yes, they will want to earn that certificate in One Health. Extremely encouraging data for us to continue to engage this audience. So there are many key points that we learned. 90% of respondents are interested in training. They will use resources of the One Health Workforce Academy. They value continuing professional development, and they expect a reward for earning that certificate by employers. And number 5, there's a wide range of perspectives on the importance of the competencies. And in year 2 of the One Health Workforce Academy, we're beginning to address this to make sure that there's an international recognition of the core competencies for the certificate program. So I want us to begin now, the Technical Advisory Committee, and to those in the audience, when we reach out to you to complete a survey on this topic in the African network, AFROHUN, please respond to us. We're welcoming comments on all of this content, both what Irene shared, what Professor Kabasa shared, and what I just showed you that we've done with SEAOHUN, that we do the same thing for AFROHUN, and that we move forward together knowing that we're on the same page and there is buy-in across all of those stakeholder categories. Thank you very much. I submit, and hopefully there will be questions and comments coming our way.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Irene and Dele. Very exciting to see all of the innovative ideas coming together to benefit our network and the partners. So in the interest of time, we're going to move now to the country showcase, where our country teams will highlight some of the successes over the past year in the face of COVID-19. So given that time is limited today for this session, we're going to go ahead and take questions at the end. So as we go along through the program, if you could type your questions into the chat box, we'll be able to come back to those questions at the end. Country teams can also address questions as they come in through typing in the chat box. And we're pleased to have Tracy Wynn with us again today. She's the graphic illustrator who will be doing some live scribing during this session. So you should be able to see her screen as she's doing the live scribing during the country showcase. So with that, I would like to welcome our AFROHUN Rwanda team to present. Could you please pull up their slides for them? Thank you. Excellent, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay, good evening. Good morning, wherever you may be. Welcome to Africa, AFROHUN Rwanda 2020. I'm Kagarama Juvenal. I'm a country manager, and my backup tonight is Albert Ndagijimana. Is a faculty at the University of Rwanda School of Public Health. Next slide, please. Wait a minute, back slide. AFROHUN Rwanda comprises 2 universities, University of Rwanda and University of Global Health Equity, and both of them have contributed to this exercise. Our showcase tonight focuses on the contribution that we made to community health and well-being in the face of COVID-19 outbreak. And we did this through 2 high-impact activities implemented by SEAOHUN members. The first activity is about COVID-19, mitigating its spread in the community. And the second is about experiential learning at the human-animal environment interface, where students participated and identified problems that affect the community, One Health problems that affect the community. Beginning with COVID-19, we operate in 5 different districts in the country, as you can see, and each of the district has a dedicated team of students, faculty, and members of the district health team. Next. Before sending students into the community, into the field, they were trained, and they were trained about COVID-19 mitigation strategies. And the training was done by a member of the National COVID-19 Task Force. Next. The training involved symptoms of the disease, as you can see, different symptoms. Next. Preventive measures like hand washing, disinfectant, symptoms, and so on. Next. And we used in the field, we used different strategies, from house to house. We invited a number of community groups, and at times we also used mobile public address systems and radio talks to reach as many as possible. And in rare cases, we also had role plays where the participants also participated. Here, in this slide and the next 2 slides, you can see a number of engagements of the community by some of students taking part. Next. This is another example of engagement. Now, at the end of the exercise, we estimated to have reached so many participants per district, as you can see on the graphs on your left. In Gasabo, we had 8,000. We had 8,006, and so on. You can read that from the graph. Next. What are the positive outcomes at the end of the exercise? I want to spend 1 or 2 minutes on this slide. We managed to raise awareness about COVID-19 in the community. Number 2, we are glad that we were able to showcase about and train the community about IPC principles like PPEs, the new norms and behavioral changes in our society, you know, social distancing, avoiding handshaking, and hand washing as often as possible. I was saying that the Rwandan society is very well known for some of these actions like embracing, like hugging, when you're greeting and when you're saying goodbye. And these are just examples of malpractices that present COVID-19 outbreak. We created excellent partnership with the community because wherever we are going, we are accompanied by members of the district leadership and community at large. And this has helped create the visibility of AFROHUN. But I think by far the biggest contribution was that this exercise has provided AFROHUN one more step in the 1,000-mile journey, so to speak, to respond to emerging pandemic threat like COVID-19. Next. The second activity that we did was with the students was done at the human-animal environmental interface. Next, please. The objectives of this activity were: one, identify one health problems at this interface, discuss the findings with the district officials, and then propose realistic and appropriate intervention for consideration and ownership at the district level. We identified 3 sets of problems. The first problem was related to livestock and food security. This area, this interface is very well known for being arid and almost all year round. And this presents a food insecurity as we have very scanty rains. Because of inadequate rainfall, again, animals don't have enough pasture, and at times they break into the park, and this causes a lot of friction between the park officials and the cattle keepers. Besides, animals going into the park might pick up a number of diseases from the close contact with wild animals, and later on they may pass them to human beings. And of course, we have in the
Dr. Garma, you have 2 minutes to go.
Source shared between animals and human beings, and this poses a source of waterborne diseases. Next. As far as agriculture is concerned, we have one particular example where paddy rice fields are a good example of mosquito breeding and therefore a cause of malaria. Next. The other challenge was seen as a result of environmental and social environmental degradation, inadequate PPEs for workers, and need for insurance for workers during the project of, there is a project where there is a lot of mining in the area, and these are the problems associated with it. Next. Other than having examples of health examples identified, our students were also engaged in humanitarian interventions where we helped build habitations and toilets for vulnerable families. Next. And we purchased a number of goats for orphan children that didn't have people to live with. Next. The importance and outcome of this activity, we also had effective communication, building strong partnership, advocacy on behalf of the community, and students were able to identify themselves with the community as shown by the goats distribution. Next. I thank you very much for your attention. And this is a virtual invitation to visit Rwanda. It doesn't expire. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Wonderful, thank you. Really inspiring to see how the team engaged students in various field training opportunities to benefit the communities. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our DRC colleagues. AFROHUN DRC, are you ready to present? Great. You can proceed, Dr. Mark.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to join today and to share what DRC team has done during this COVID-19 pandemic. Hope that you can hear me. Thank you. So Global Consortium Partners, Secretariat, and the DRC team, we are really happy to share with you what we have done during the COVID-19 pandemic on behalf of the DRC AFROHUN team. So we will start using the following agenda. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so the Democratic Republic of Congo started implementing One Health Next Generation activities in May 2020. So as you can see, it was really in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And at that time, DRC were reporting almost 500 cases of COVID-19 and more than 30 deaths. And the first case was reported on March 10th. So at that time, we were obliged to start implementing our One Health Next Generation project activities. What to do during a moment very difficult as the COVID-19 pandemic. So we first had the time to see the challenges and the context of the COVID-19 response. So we have seen that we had at that time in the country community resistance, no communication, no community engaged in response activities. All communication were media-based, and a lot of fake news, like there is no COVID-19 in the country, this is only for political reasons, and Black people can't die from COVID. And in this context, people were not supporting response activities. So as AFROHUN DRC, we asked ourselves the question to know, how can we support response activities? What can we do to be helpful for the country at this very difficult moment? So we looked at previous project activities to support the response at COVID-19. So instead of starting new activities, we said, oh, let us look in the past and see what we have done and then use people trained and then put them in the COVID-19 response and then see how they can perform and help, not only training for training, but training for action. That's what DRC did. So we looked at the training of territory administrators conducted between 2016, 2017, and 2018, and field demonstration sites with students and also students trained under a master's program supported by OHW at that time. Slide, please. Yeah, so here you can see One Health training and field demonstration sites with students. At the left side, at that time I was the activity lead. I was talking to students on how they can work with communities. And at the right-hand side, you can see a student demonstrating hand washing practices to community members. And you can see how community members was really engaged to see what he has been demonstrating. Yeah. Yes, here you can see even people looking at what the students were showing, how to wash correctly hands. That's at that time. And at the right-hand side, you can see how students were engaging communities using their communication practices. They were going to the community, sensitizing them in hand washing practices during the cholera outbreak. And so that we said, okay, as we have trained territory administrators in almost 2 provinces of the country, and our students have been trained in communication practices during cholera outbreak, how we can use them. And territory administrators, also students trained during the master's program to support the response to COVID-19. Those are the most important activities we will showcase in this presentation to you, good people. So you can see territory administrators. Here we engaged the National COVID-19 Response Task Force to work with them as they have been trained in leadership in the response to infectious outbreaks. So since they have been trained, they have never practiced in the field and they have not been involved in a real situation. So here we had all of them sharing their experience on what they did during the COVID-19, and we also discussed with them risk communication for community engagements. Slide, please. Yes, here we sent them to the field to see from the field their measures they are taking in their office, if they are really applied in the community. So they did this exercise to go to the markets, to the streets, to see how community are following those measures. And we gave them a training using the Communication Commission of the National Task Force to how they can engage communities in response activities. Slide, please. Yes, here they were discussing with these people on how they are not implementing COVID-19 response measures. So they asked the questions and they learned from the community that the community were not engaged in their response activities, and we trained them in community engagement, risk communication for community engagement. We covered 2 territories for these 2 provinces for this activity, 15 territories, and 2 provincial ministers were also involved in this activity, which improved risk communication for community engagement and also a multidisciplinary teamwork strengthened at the territory level. And this is another activity involving One Health Club alumni in improving risk communication for community engagement. This activity was conducted in Kinshasa and Lubumbashi, and we supported at that time 6 health zones to really work with community health workers. As you can see here, students are working with community health workers in a One Health team to share information on COVID-19, how to avoid the disease to spread in our community. And at the right side, you can see in the market a One Health Club alumni sharing information with community members and how community are really interested to hear from him. And for this activity, we trained using the National Communication Commission, 60 students on risk communication for community engagement, and they worked in 6 health zones and sensitized almost 1,640 households, and more than 4,000 people reached. And they worked in multidisciplinary teams to share information in the community. So the last one was the training of master's students conducted by the University of Lubumbashi at Lubumbashi School of Veterinary Medicine. This was a One Health team composed with public health people, human doctors, and veterinary people. So they had the opportunity after their training to work in the community and to support response activities in almost 6 health zones. So they were part of the team doing contact tracing and case investigation almost in 3 provinces of the country. And they have been really helpful to support the response activities and also to learn as they were working in the field. So I want here to share the story of one of them who told me that working in class is good, but working in the community is almost different. Contact tracing in the book is different when you are in a harsh environment. So that's what they have learned. This field experience was really interesting for them. What are the lessons learned by DRC during this first year of AFROHUN Next Generation? Our activity impacted positively the response to COVID-19 in DRC, and trained students can have supported the response activities. We have not implemented new activities, but we looked to the past and used trained students to give them now the opportunity to practice what they have learned and to have a hands-on learning and also gain a good experience in a multidisciplinary team, which can be helpful for them while they are growing as One Health workforce. Yes, for next step, we are working closely with our member institutions and to support institutionalization of One Health by integrating One Health in the curricula at Kinshasa School of Public Health, also to add a module on risk communication and support the Ministry of Interior to integrate risk communication module in the training of territory administrators. So AFROHUN DRC has 2 member institutions. We have the University of Kinshasa, with Kinshasa School of Public Health, and University of Lubumbashi with Lubumbashi School of Veterinary Medicine. They have been, their deans who are now who are here with us have been contributing a lot to support the implementation of all these activities. So thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. So the last slide, please. Yeah, welcome to DRC. As you can see, this very nice photo from Virunga National Park. Dear members, dear Secretariat, colleagues, and those who have been supporting us, thank you so much, and looking forward to support and work for this year project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. Really nice examples highlighting the team support in the national COVID-19 response. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so with that, I would like to invite our AFROHUN Tanzania team to present. Do we have the Tanzan? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Excellent. Over to you, Prof.
Okay. Professor Cleo, can you unmute and start your presentation?
Prof. Kalewo, can you hear us?
Maybe if Tanzania is having challenges, can we move to the next country? Perhaps.
Sure.
Maybe move.
Uganda. I think it's Uganda on the list. Okay. Yeah, if we could move on to AFROHUN Uganda. The team is ready. Can share the slides. Perfect.
Good afternoon and good morning from AFROHUN Uganda. Angela Msewa presenting to you. Currently, 2 institutions are part of the AFROHUN network in Uganda, that is Makerere University and Imbara University of Science and Technology. We are showcasing 3 activities out of the 10 that we implemented in year 1. The first activity is the integration of One Health competences in the community-based education research and service leadership community placement program, that's the COBAS. To start with, we held Zoom meetings between Makerere University and Imbara University of Science and Technology. These were aimed at identifying One Health content. This was followed by a face-to-face training in Imbara that took place for 3 days, and this was facilitated by faculty from Makerere University, supporting over 60 faculty from Imbara University of Science and Technology to integrate One Health in the COBAS program. The 3-day event ended with the 6 modules being developed with One Health integrated in them. This was followed by a request to transform the course online, and subsequently a team of facilitators from Makerere University College of Education and External Studies held regular Zoom meetings aimed at building capacity in pedagogy of the faculty to deliver modules online and reviewing curriculum, as well as transforming the course online. Over 60 faculty from Imbara University of Science and Technology benefited from this kind of training, and the COBAS course was transformed on the Colorina platform, which is the e-learning environment or the e-learning platform from Imbara University. This has enabled institutionalization of One Health training in Imbara, benefiting over 500 students annually from the Faculty of Medicine. The second activity comes from the SEAOHUN team. that was implemented by students with guidance from their patron, Ms. Kathy Ateire. A multidisciplinary team of students was assembled by the patron to conduct an activity entitled Conveying Experience of the Youth, Health Workers, Disabled, and Different Community Members during the COVID-19 pandemic. Before this activity was conducted, a needs assessment was conducted by the students in the community. This brought out the challenges or the gaps that needed to be filled by the students during their activity. This was followed by a webinar session that brought on board students across East Africa and Asia, especially students from India. The webinar was chaired by Mbarara University SEAOHUN Club President, and we brought on board key stakeholders to give keynote speeches, including the One Health focal person from the Ministry of Agriculture. We had representatives from Mbarara Regional Referral Hospital as well. This activity captured real-time moments of students who are supporting Mbarara Hospital health team in screening COVID-19 patients, real-time moments of the disabled and how they're being affected by the pandemic were also captured, and how the community has been affected generally by the pandemic. This activity was implemented in a multidisciplinary team.
Mbarara University of Science and Technology presents the power of their story. A documentary film about Ugandan folk in the wake of the novel COVID-19 pandemic. I am Mariam Ichulet Arikosi. The Students' One Health Innovation Club was officially launched on 19th October 2018 with over 200 students from the different faculties at Mbarara University of Science and Technology. We have greatly grown since then. As the global community is racing to slow down and eventually halt the spread of COVID-19, which has claimed over 500,000 lives and infected over 10 million people, the Students' One Health Innovation Club deemed it fit to join this global fight. SEAOHUN must organize a response against COVID-19 with two objectives. One, to raise awareness about accurate COVID-19 information, and two, to support the implementation of the public health interventions as guided by the Uganda National Health Task Force and the World Health Organization. Once a national state of emergency was declared in Uganda, over 21 health students in Mbarara have volunteered in Mbarara Regional Referral Hospital to support the COVID-19 task force here. To flag off the SEAOHUN mass response, we organized an online webinar which trained several international students from Uganda, Kenya, India, and several other countries. We equally organized a needs assessment to assess the gaps in knowledge, attitudes, perceptions about COVID-19. Following the assessment of the survey, the gaps found were used to influence and inform the community dissemination program. Here, we answered questions that the community had, raised posters about COVID-19 in both English and Runyango.
There's no point of me going home to protect myself, yet this is the kind of line I chose. It's the kind of life I'm going to lead for the rest of my years. So.
I am Dr. Sebutinde Peter, the District Health Officer. When we first reported the first case in the country, our risk perception rose and reached a climax somewhere. Everybody knew about COVID and how dangerous it is, and everyone was alert, including the community. I'm glad you are recording this. It should be seen and watched by many. COVID is real and it kills.
The activity comes from the One Health Institute of Makerere University. The One Health Institute started with an online training where 65 graduate and undergraduate students were trained, and thereafter 52 projects were implemented within different communities where undergraduate students were residing. These students were coming from 12 districts within the country, covering 3 regions. The students implemented community projects using an innovative approach whereby they were teamed up in groups of 15 to support each other on Muwele, that's the Makerere University e-learning environment or platform for the students, but also to support each other on WhatsApp and Zoom in a way of evaluating each other's project, but also bringing on board ideas of working as a team to solve a One Health problem. Students worked with the local teams, that is the village health workers, that is the VHDs, and their local leaders, as well as other NGOs supporting health-related projects in their communities. Numerous projects were implemented as presented.
AFROHUN Uganda, presenting the 2021 Health Field Experiential Learning, carried out with the goal of training a cohort of 1 health champions, knowledgeable and skilled at detecting and managing a variety of health challenges within communities through the use and application of their personal sets of skills, attributes, and professional backgrounds. These are some of the activities carried out by the students during the field experiential learning in various communities around Uganda. The introduction of steaming as a countermeasure to charcoal dust inhalation by the charcoal sellers in Nabidonga A, Iganga district. Sensitization on zoonotic diseases at community abattoirs, for example, Trust Inter Uganda Limited in Wakiso Town Council and Wobulenzi Abattoir in Wero district. Various people participated in the general cleaning of their communities. Also, there was the cleaning of the wells, springs, and other water sources, especially the unblocking of their drainage systems. Environment conservation methods were undertaken in effort to curb on the plastic waste problem. Trees were also planted as an intervention. There was also the sensitization on waste disposal in markets.
Wonderful. Thanks to our African Uganda team. Really amazing to hear about all the innovative training opportunities that have been provided to students over the past year. Is our Tanzania team ready to present at this point, or should we move on to AFROHUN Senegal?
Tanzania is ready.
Perfect. All right, you can go ahead and share your slides. Thank you.
I'm waiting for the slides. Yeah, in Tanzania, we are ready, and my team, I have Dr. Mariam Ongara from Tanzania Public Health Association. She's going to be the backup in case something happens to me. I hope not. Next slide, please. In Tanzania, we had many activities, but we identified one of the activities as a flagship. We are working with Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences, together with Sokoine University of Agriculture on animal health. AFROHUN Tanzania, of course, intends to expand into other universities and including the private sector. Next slide, please. One of our several activities was called In-Service Personnel Capacity Strengthening for COVID-19 Prevention and Response using One Health approach. This was an important activity for us and a flagship activity, and we thought we would be delighted to have this one as a showcase. This activity was highly innovative, using a miniature public address system, as you can see in the picture in the middle. And the activity was also unique because it had never been used before. It was used only by street vendors, and it's been used in Tanzania by street vendors. And we thought we would use this one for COVID-19 related prevention response. So AFROHUN Tanzania partnered with the Tanzania Public Health Association and the Ministry of Health, the Prime Minister's Office, and also the President's Office, Regional Administration, and local governments. We trained selected in-service personnel on COVID-19 as a resource to undertake community education in future. We also conducted awareness campaigns at regional level and on prevention and response to emerging pandemic threats, including COVID-19. Next slide, please. We compared these two public address systems, the one traditionally used by the Ministry of Health, which uses big vans and huge speakers on top for public education during epidemics and during the time they want to provide public education. The vans move around in big streets only with loud noise and music. Each van has a minimum of 5 staff who are paid daily allowances, adding to the expenses, and the van cannot move in corners of small streets and crowded places such as markets and bus terminals. So the whole enterprise becomes very expensive and may not be sustainable. So in our innovation, we compared this with the use of miniature public address systems that can be seen above, and it can also be operated only by one person who moves around from one place to another in crowded markets, motorcycle stops, bus terminals, and so on, delivering verbal educational messages. The system does not attract large crowds of people and therefore excellent for keeping distance where necessary. The system is very cheap and can even be used by community health workers where it is possible. Next, please. The system is replicable, efficient, impactful, and sustainable. Next slide, please. Next. AFROHUN Tanzania collaborated with Tanzania Public Health Association, which is a local private NGO, and we involved TPHA right from the planning stage. And TPHA has membership throughout Tanzania, and the regional medical officers are patrons to the association. Tanzania Public Health Association conducts health education in many areas and organizes annual scientific conferences during which they disseminate research findings. Next, please. At the start, we developed COVID-19 related activity in collaboration with TPHA, the Ministry of Health, with coordination by the Prime Minister's Office. We selected 7 regions for the activity: Dar es Salaam, Kigoma, Kagera, Mwanza, Dodoma, Mbeya, and Arusha. And we started with Dar es Salaam as a pilot area. Next, please. These are the regions in Tanzania. This is a map of Tanzania showing the 7 regions which we visited. Next slide, please. And we trained national level TOTs, and these traveled to the 7 regions after being trained themselves, centrally in Dar es Salaam. They carried with them print educational materials and miniature public address systems, as you can see in the picture, for providing public education. Next slide, please. The 7 regions, while we are there, appropriate multidisciplinary in-service personnel were selected by the regional level leaders. In-service personnel came from human health, animal health, environmental sectors, as well as from nursing and community development disciplines. The training of the in-service personnel was conducted by the national level TOTs. Next slide, please. In preparation, we trained the participants on how to use the public address system. You can see the picture in the middle. It was supposed to be a video clip training participants on how to use the public address system. Next slide, please. And also in here, it was a marketplace, and in the middle, it is supposed to be a video clip where the speaker is carrying with him a microphone and a public address system, talking in Swahili language, explaining how COVID-19 spreads and also how to prevent and respond to COVID-19 and other communicable diseases. Next slide, please. Yes, after training, the regional teams, together with TOTs, visited various crowded sites, including markets, bus terminals, motorcycle parking lots, and schools. They were wearing masks. The teams walked through the crowds in their education with their educational materials and public address system, which delivered recorded information, messages, and music interludes to attract listeners. Next slide, please. At the end, after delivering those messages in those places, the regional visits, there was a feedback meeting which was held with regional leaders to brief them about the activity and to discuss sustainability issues. Finally, the public address system was left behind, handed over to the regional leaders for future use and replication where possible. You can see also the public address systems there of various sizes and so on. As an impact, 86 in-service personnel were trained in all 7 regions visited. More than 4,000 people were reached directly with the campaigns across the regions. This activity earned AFROHUN and TPHA increased visibility with the One Health Coordination Desk and the general population. The role of the Prime Minister's office in implementing this activity was key because the office was supporting the implementation of this activity to a very large extent. We are looking forward to opportunities where AFROHUN will encourage regions and districts to solicit resources from their own local sources to scale up the training and awareness among the participants. We are very thankful to the Tanzania Public Health Association, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries, Government of Tanzania, Prime Minister's Office, President's Office, Regional Administration, Local Governments, Vice President's Office, Environment, and the One Health Coordination Desk. With that, thank you very much for allowing me to make this presentation, and my colleagues. Thank you very much. I submit.
Thank you very much, Prof. Just a really great example of an innovation and key partnership in Tanzania that really made significant contributions to community outreach with regard to COVID-19 response and safety measures. Okay, so finally, I would like to invite our AFROHUN Senegal team to present. So welcome, over to you.
AFROHUN Sénégal est constitué par 3 institutions qui travaillent ensemble depuis le projet OHW. Il s'agit de l'école interétat de médecine vétérinaire, de l'Institut de santé et de développement et de l'Institut des sciences de l'environnement. Dans le cadre du projet One Health Workforce Next Generation, AFROHUN Sénégal a accordé une priorité à la formation et
I think we're trying to adjust the volume there and we seem to have lost our video.
We are sorting out the technical issue with the Senegal video.
Pandemic progression and in order to contribute to the
We
response at national level,
we are trying to sort out the technical issue with the Senegal video.
organizing
Just 1
2
second.
eco-sessions
It's now part.
focusing on COVID-19. Organization of these eco-sessions includes 3 steps. First, preparation within AFROHUN Senegal team with identification of facilitator and panelists, and also choice of date and time. Second, preparation between AFROHUN Senegal team and its partners like Eco Project, Global Consortium, and Shops Plus. And third, the launch of these eco-sessions on 28th of July and 11th of August.
These 2 sessions have given opportunity for experts to present communication on various COVID-19 related thematics: COVID-19 epidemiology, community response, immunopathology, COVID-19 response strategy elaborated in Senegal, phytotherapy, communication and community engagement, measures of infection prevention and control, the role of laboratories in COVID-19, and management of COVID-19 patients. At the end of these sessions, participants acknowledged that they had strengthened their capacity in the topic discussed. According to participants, immunology, phytotherapy, epidemiology were the most valuable topics covered during these sessions. These 2 testimonies confirm interest and value added of eco sessions organized by AFROHUN Senegal.
Ces subventions ont permis aux équipes de recherche de s'initier dans la rédaction de projets, de s'investir dans des champs de recherche multidisciplinaires et émergents, mais aussi de mieux s'organiser et de développer de nouvelles orientations en matière de recherche.
Nos principaux critères ont été la multidisciplinarité et le genre.
In order to support student groups, particularly the ones in the first research experience, and to ensure the high quality of the work, AFROHUN required that each team be supervised by a professor with proven skills and experience in the One Health approach. These supervisors are specialized in a variety of domains related to One Health activities. The first two supervisors were the OHW focal points until 2019. They are Professor Rihanna Tu, veterinary specialist in antimicrobial resistance, in charge of the supervision of Group 1, and Dr. Fatima Nyang Diop, biologist specialized in biodiversity and supervisor of Group 2. Group 3, which focus on zoonotic bacteria, is supervised by Dr. Muhammadu Abdullahi Sonko, pharmacist biologist. Professor Amada Faye, an epidemiologist, supervises the work of Group 4, which is interested in priority zoonoses in Senegal.
C'est ma première fois que je travaille avec une équipe multidisciplinaire, mais je trouve que c'est là qui est notre point fort, parce qu'on a eu à se compléter. Et comme chacun maîtrisait son domaine, c'est aller plus vite. Et ça nous a permis de gagner en temps et aussi de mieux nous rapprocher du délai. Et
grâce à ce concept One Health aussi, ça permet aussi de pouvoir mutualiser les moyens. Et au cours de ce travail, nous avons aussi appris l'importance de la recherche scientifique aussi.
Le contexte de Covid-19 a été à l'origine du retard accusé dans l'exécution de nos travaux, car cette situation a entraîné un retard dans le processus administratif. Et en plus de cela, la situation ne facilitait pas l'accès aux produits de laboratoire pour les travaux. Et à cause de cette situation, nous étions obligés de ne travailler que les après-midi, les moments où il n'y a pas assez de monde dans les laboratoires, en vue de pouvoir respecter les mesures barrières, notamment la distanciation physique. Et nous utilisons également les masques et les gants pour éviter au maximum les risques de contamination.
Dans les préparatifs et durant tout le travail, nous avons organisé des vidéoconférences. Et aussi, nous avons conçu un groupe WhatsApp pour pouvoir bien coordonner les activités.
Nous avions l'habitude d'administrer nos questionnaires et nos guides d'entretien en présentiel. L'avantage étant que dans notre culture, la communication non verbale est d'une grande importance. Mais dans ce contexte, nous avons dû nous adapter. Et donc, nos principales innovations ont été l'utilisation d'outils de collecte de données en ligne à travers des logiciels d'enquête, mais également les séances de travail.
It is important to A, be well prepared and familiar with the technical tool. B, ensure teamwork in all steps. C, have high-speed internet connection. D, ensure good scheduling and time management. E, increase the impact of such sessions by organizing them over time and on a specific theme at the same time and with the same audience.
It would be also important to initiate partnerships for greater impact in terms of grant awarded and operationality of result.
In the future, participants would like to attend sessions dealing with topics such as environmental health, zoonosis, and outbreak response. AFROHUN Senegal could also provide credential community of practice focused on these prioritized topics in Senegal.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sarah and the AFROHUN Senegal team. That was a really nice video. We do have some time for questions from the audience. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair, Timothy, who's going to field some of those questions for our country teams. Thanks, Timothy, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. In the interest of time, I'm going to allow only 2 questions. We've asked participants to post their questions in the chat, and a number of them have been answered. But I'm going to ask Professor Kouassi Alphonsine, because he asked some questions in French, which were not very clear. So we want him to ask his questions so that we have the interpreters interpret the questions. So Professor Kouassi Alphonsine, please ask your question.
Merci. Alphonsine, Côte d'Ivoire. Je voudrais savoir, j'avais posé ma première question à Irène en soulignant l'importance des 5 piliers. Et ma question était, selon elle, par lequel des piliers devrions-nous commencer, puisque nous venons d'être admis récemment à AFROHUN, pour avoir le maximum de succès. Merci. Et la question aussi est à tous pour pouvoir partager les expériences des uns et des autres au début de vos activités, pour que nous puissions tirer le meilleur pour nous.
Translator, please translate the question. We were listening to French instead, so would appreciate if you can translate what the professor was asking.
Dr. Mark jumped into the chat box, potentially with a translation.
So can I translate if you want?
Please, Dr. Mark, thank you very much.
Okay, so the first question of Professor Alphonsine is to Dr. Irene. So she is asking, as they are at the beginning of implementing AFROHUN activities, in the 5 pillars which have been presented.
Are they two questions?
Please?
No, we had the question, but we're asking, because you said it's the first question, we are clarifying whether there were 2 questions.
There were 2 questions. So the second one, she was asking people from different countries to work with her to support her at the beginning. If there is an opportunity to share experience from different countries to support them as they're starting their activities.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Alphonsine, for those questions. Regarding the 5 pillars, I know each pillar is at different levels of implementation, but at the beginning we are paying much attention to the first pillar. So we have experience regarding all the 5 pillars, but we are starting with this One Health certification, which is pillar 1, training, and which is accredited training programs. So most of our emphasis regarding most of the programs that we've had has been on training, but we are literally starting on all those pillars at the same time, although some pillars are more advanced than others, like pillar number 1 is more advanced, which is on training, professional training programs, and also pillar number 2, which is on experiential learning models, and pillar number 3 on SOHI. So pillar number 4 and 5, the communities of practice and research, are a little bit less advanced than the other 3. So back to sharing experiences, I know that Côte d'Ivoire will be basically our latest addition. to the network. You joined the network in August this year. So we haven't even started orientation. So as we orient and as we go into work planning for technical activities, certainly we are going to build these orientation experiences, and we're going to share our orientation experiences and ensure that your capacity is built in all these pillars. I submit.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Irene. In the interest of time, we are not taking on any other questions, but I'm going to encourage our country managers, please go in the chat. And if you have a question that was asked to you, please respond to it. I hand back to the chair.
Thank you very much, Timothy. So with that, we'll go ahead and close this session. I believe next we have a 5-minute break. Is that okay? The question to the AFROHUN Secretariat, timing wise? Yes, okay, a 5-minute break. So we'll see you back in 5 minutes. Thanks everyone, and a big congratulations and a big thank you to all of the country teams for the amazing work that they highlighted this morning. So thank you and congrats. Okay, we'll see you back in about 5 minutes. Thanks everyone.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back from the short break. We are ready to continue with our next session on global case competitions. And our facilitators for this session are two: Professor Mabel Nangami, who is the Dean at the School of Public Health at Moi University, is one of our facilitators. And then Professor Mabel will closely work with Professor Waltrina Smith, who is the Technical Director at USAID One Health Workforce Next Generation at the University of California, Davis. So over to you, Professor Nangami and Professor Smith, to take us through the next session on global case competitions. Thank you. Professor Nangami, would you kindly unmute so we can hear?
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Hello. Thank you very much. I was waiting to be unmuted. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuned in from the globe. I want to extend my warm welcome to all of you to this very special session. The session is on regional case presentations, competitions by our student teams from 4 countries. We are going to have Cameroon, Rwanda, Uganda, and Kenya. And it will not be a competition if we do not have judges. Allow me a minute to introduce our 4 judges who have been carefully selected so that there's no conflict of interest, and I can assure you they do not come from any of the 4 countries. Professor Rodvik Kazwala is from Tanzania, University of Sokoine, University of Agriculture. He is a veterinarian as well as an expert in tick-borne and zoonotic disease. The next judge is Professor Toim Jodi from Mohadol University in Thailand. He is a member of faculty in the Environment and Resource Studies School. The third judge is Professor Ndola Prata, who is a member of the One Health Workforce Next Gen global team in their own expertise, a physician as well as a demographer, and from UC Berkeley. The last judge, but not least, of course, is a professor who is very well known to us, Professor Oladele, who is a key member of the One Health Workforce Next Gen global team. And importantly, he is an environmental microbiologist as well as a public health specialist. And he comes to us from the University of California, Irvine. So those are our 4 judges. But with me, ladies and gentlemen, I have a co-facilitator, Professor Waltrina Smith. She is an infectious disease immunologist from UC Davis. She is a professor who is also holding a position of director of the One Health Institute of the UC Davis. But importantly for this evening, she comes to us in a position of technical director of the One Health Workforce Next Gen project. She is co-facilitating with me, and I'll pass on the baton to her to give us the guidelines of how the teams will present and also introduce the 2 people in the background who will be working with us on this panel. Over to you, Waltrina.
Sure, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being together again today. It was really wonderful to hear the country showcase presentations and now to be able to highlight some of our fabulous students who have been working very diligently on the case competition. So let me just remind you how the case competition works. We've 4 different teams of students. So from Uganda, Kenya, Cameroon, and Rwanda. They have each prepared a 10-minute presentation around a mystery case. They got their mystery case about 10 days ago, and they worked through to discover that it was a tick-borne disease in Tanzania caused by Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus. They then received part 2 of the case, which is their charge to develop their ideas on a One Health approach for a local response and a national response against tick-borne diseases for CCHF and other agents. So we're going to hear, and we have our judges with us as well. So we will have a question or two after each presentation. And then we hope to be able to announce the winning teams in the closing ceremony that will be just a little bit later today. So with that, let me hand it over to the first team, Team Uganda. And if we could share their slides and get them going for their 10-minute presentation, that would be fantastic.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, go ahead.
Okay, greetings One Health champions from AFROHUN, Uganda. This is our case study presentation, part 2. Next slide. Next slide. The high-risk populations for contracting Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever include herdsmen, animal husbandry officers, and vets in close contact with domestic animals. At the same time, abattoir workers working in meat slaughterhouses, and also tourists and game park staff like rangers in contact with wild animals. Next slide. For these high-risk populations to prevent CCHF, we recommend use of protective equipment like gloves, gumboots, masks, and others for all persons working closely with animals like the vets, the abattoir workers, and others. We also encourage farmers to control ticks in animals through using indigenous methods like spraying with recommended acaricides. We advocate for collaboration between game reserves and local communities to set up water harvest areas and buffer zones between game parks and villages to limit domestic wild animal contact to inhibit tick transmission. Finally, the local communities should liaise with health workers in the event of suspected cases and seek medical attention in case of any issues rather than self-medication. Next slide. To design our public health education materials in community outreaches, firstly, we will conduct a baseline assessment to take stock of the status quo in the area, then identify appropriate stakeholders in the community and beyond, and also the most trusted accessible information sources. Additionally, we will identify common languages used by the natives and collaborate with the identified stakeholders to develop the information, education, and communication materials, which will be pre-tested to a small group of the community and then massively disseminated. Next slide. To ensure the community members are enthusiastic about the recommendations, we will collaborate holistically with community members in developing recommendations and also address the concerns that they raise by understanding their values and having closed loop discussions with them at all stages to get these solutions. Also, we will, this way, the community will own the initiative and ensure its efficacy and sustainability. We will also front highly recognized community leaders as the face of the program, such that members in the community trust and own this program. Members will equally embrace programs that are brought by their own and also convince them how deadly and dangerous CCHF is. Next slide. At the same time, the need to implement recommendations and repercussions of failure will be emphasized. Next slide. Without a doubt, yes, working as a multidisciplinary task force has been fundamental, with the additional contributions from my colleagues from other disciplines like veterinary, human, and environmental health throughout this outbreak. And I would also recommend the same approach for a national One Health surveillance network for tick-borne. Next slide. And in this task force, the additional stakeholders I would recommend would be specialists in public health, meteorology, climate change, laboratory technology, infectious disease, environmental health, and also wildlife experts, climate change experts, social scientists, community health workers, politicians, and several others. Next slide. The challenges in building a multidisciplinary national network are reluctance to collaborate with others due to interpersonal obstacles like ego, being used to working in silos, and also cultural differences and language barrier can inhibit communication across these different multiple sectors working together. Next slide. At the same time, financial shortages can inhibit the efficacy of the network, and different levels of training may make collaboration hard, which can result in delays in action, as a delay in one discipline can ultimately affect the entire network. Also, one sector tends to dominate the network. For example, in health, you find the Ministry of Health taking charge of very many of the programs, leaving out other sectors. Next slide. This is our One Health Best Intervention Plan to prevent CCHF in Tanzania. To introduce, CCHF is a severe viral hemorrhagic fever endemic in Africa, primarily transmitted across human-animal interfaces from ticks through contact with contagious body fluids. It has a case fatality rate of about 40% by the second week of infection, and no vaccine exists to date. A One Health workforce is fundamental to achieve great results. Next slide. But the problem is CCHF, a highly infectious disease, has a silent animal cycle, which creates a high potential of transmission from animals to humans. And given the long incubation period of up to 13 days, the potential of human to human transmission will also increase. And in Tanzania, its presence creates a threat to the live communities like the herdsmen, and it can also spill over to other sectors like the tourism sector. Next slide. Our objectives are: 1, advocacy for government, private sector, and other key stakeholder engagements. 2, creating awareness about CCHF in communities. And 3, establish community surveillance, detection, and treatment of CCHF. Next slide. The methodology will rely on comprehensive review of key documents, research and analysis of relevant data, best practices, stakeholder engagement across all levels to take stock of the different issues affecting the spread of CCHF in Tanzania. Next slide. Next slide. To implement all the objectives, we will have the following stakeholders: government ministries, non-government organizations, bilateral and multilateral organizations, international organizations, the media, community leaders, scientists, and others. And to implement the first objective, we'll have the following activities. For objective 1, One Health Best Stakeholder trainings, establish One Health technical committees, create legislature that support this program like the National Tick Control Policy and others, financial resource mobilization, accumulation and allocation to the different programs. Next slide. For objective 2, we will have the following activities: community education, mass media broadcasting, research in diversity control strategies and anthropology of community behavior, creating water harvest areas and irrigation facilities to limit wild animal to domestic contacts, and capacity building of the national resilience to climate change, as that equally affects the spread of CCHF. Next slide. Next slide. For objective 3, our activities will be creating buffer zones around the game parks, establishing a robust health system in the country, like having human resource trained in surveillance, integrated surveillance systems incorporated, alternative drug innovations, electronic data management systems used in the health sector, and also establishing good supply and healthcare. Next slide. To monitor and evaluate all these objectives collectively, we will have several of these outcomes and indicators. For objective 1, we'll have the outcome of creation of multi-sector partnerships, One Health stakeholder training, national TIC policies, leadership skills, and it will be number of multi-sector partnerships, number of interviews, legislature, and the leadership structure created, and others. For objective 2, we will have the community trainings, mass media broadcast, research in global strategies, and the indicators will be the numbers in all those different outcomes. Objective 3, please. Next slide. And for objective 3, we'll have the buffer zones, human resource trained, and a robust healthcare system. All this will be judged by how the numbers of the progress in those areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Team Uganda. We will have one question coming in this case from Professor Dele Ogunsitan for Team Kenya to answer, and then we will move on, or for you, Team Uganda to answer, I apologize, and then we will move on to Team Kenya as the second presentation. So Dele, would you like to pose a question to Team Uganda?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Miriam, for a wonderful presentation. And I had the opportunity to also see the video recording. My question is about the One Health concepts and approaches that you are using in the communication to get buy-in from the stakeholders. I wasn't quite clear which stakeholders are the most appropriate for the strategy that you use. So just maybe if you can answer a little bit of a differentiation on the target audiences and the different types of communication strategies that you would use to ensure that your approach is going to be effective. Mariam, did you hear that question? She's muted. She's responding, but you're muted.
Yes, can you repeat the question?
Oh, in the communication strategy to ensure that there is buy-in from various sectors. You didn't differentiate the audience and the different approaches for communication. It's one of the One Health competencies.
Thank you so much for your question. One, we'll have, as a multidisciplinary team, we'll have social scientists on our team, and they will aid in understanding the community psychologically and how we can be able to approach the community when we are to deliver the message. One, having focus group discussions with the community will be very key. In it that we can easily talk to them in the languages they understand. If there is any communication barrier or language barrier, we'll get interpreters so that the message is taken home. And also, we can use drama plays to make things simple, to make the message very simple for them to understand. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Really excellent, Team Uganda. So wonderful effort and very impressive. We are going to move on to the next team presentation, that is Team Kenya. So we'll go ahead and share their slides and give them the 10 minutes to share their ideas around tick-borne diseases and the local and national interventions that could be taken. welcome.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Muthoni Morito, representing Team Kenya, and these are my team members. Next slide, please. Ticks have been known to play a crucial role in the ecosystem. However, the continuous attacks of ticks on animals and humans has made them largely susceptible to a wide range of tick-borne diseases. Today, we focus on Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus. Next, please. Our objectives range from defining high-risk populations to designing a One Health-based intervention for preventing tick-borne diseases. Next, please. This has been achieved by observation, research, and interviews. Next, please. The population most susceptible to CCHF virus includes personnel in close contact with animals such as vets, game park rangers, herdsmen, and slaughterhouse personnel. We also have healthcare workers due to contact with infected persons and animals such as livestock, migratory birds, and wildlife. Next slide, please. In health, it's a matter of act now or pay later. Next, please. With this in mind, we have classified our prevention recommendations into 3: human to human, animal to human, and tick to human. Next, please. We intend to create an infection prevention control program and train healthcare workers on the same, with emphasis on transmission, clinical science, and protection measures. This will be coupled with strengthening of PPE supply chain, among other measures within the hospital setting. Under animal to human, proper donning of masks and gloves when handling animals, as well as of animals before This will be supplemented by improved surveillance to define the geographic extent of human transmission by tracking suspected cases and the monitoring of animal movement by use of tracking chips. Next slide, please.
Start a Costco list.
Our team strongly recommends biological methods to enhance sustainability of our measures. This includes rotation of pastures, use of predators to reduce the number of free-living ticks, handpicking of ticks, and environmental sanitation of underbrush habitats. Though not to be emphasized on, we appreciate the role of acaricides, ectoparasiticides, and insect repellents in tick eradication. Next, please. So how do we effectively guarantee that the aforementioned recommendations will be implemented? Next, please. We need to engage the community through a public health campaign. For this campaign to be successful, it needs to be carefully thought out with the community at the center, a people-centered strategy. Thus, this campaign will have 3 stages. Under the planning cycle, we will define the message, target audience, mediums of communication, key players in our community, and the obstacles. In the execution stage, we'll engage the community to refine our message to their culture. We'll also engage with players to champion our message in the community, and finally, roll out our campaign utilizing the identified suitable communication channels. Evaluation will be an iterative process, running from design of the campaign to the end. This will be divided into 2. Formative evaluation done before and during the program launch to determine the needs of the society, key message, and the course of the campaign. And 2, summative evaluation to determine the impact of the campaign on knowledge, beliefs, attitudes, and behavioral change of the community, as well as the long-term impact of the campaign to the CCHF disease status, utilizing key metrics ranging from disease incidence, mortality, and morbidity rates. Next slide, please. Team Kenya has designed sample outreach materials in Swahili. Slide, please. Yes, thank you. Team Kenya has designed sample outreach materials in Swahili, such as this, that we intend to have relayed on print media. The message will be broadcasted in media with partnership with local TV and radio channels in Swahili, English, and the local languages. In partnership with network providers, we shall also run mobile mass communication via SMS on the same information. Utilization of media warriors will aid in debunking of myths and rumors that spread faster than diseases do using our personalized hashtags. The same information will be reinforced in workshops, group discussions, health fairs, and field trips. Next, please. COVID-19 pandemic has taught us, as with anything in life, following rules or guidelines require behavior change. Achieving this in a society can only be done if the solution comes from within. This will be done by holding stakeholder meetings, who in this case are religious leaders, area chiefs, representatives from Tanzania Wildlife Management Authority, Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries, Tanzania's Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, and trusted community members through community action groups and gatherings. During the stakeholder meetings, the following will be done. 1, focused group discussion on the issue at hand. 2, using of metric scoring, a data collection tool that involves structuring of perceptions and opinions of the individuals to the problem and then ranked in order of urgency. Then drawing of community resource maps that help depict the community, the source of the problem, and the already existing resources for the solution. And finally, proportional piling of possible interventions discussed by the community, prioritizing the solutions in order of importance, practicability, and sustainability. The participatory event introduces stakeholders to each other, allowing open commitment and accountability towards the implementation of the solutions arrived at. Monitoring and evaluation shall then be done on the executed solutions. Next slide, please. To combat an outbreak and prevent disease spread, all grounds must be covered and no stone left unturned. Previous slide, please. Having a multidisciplinary team allows for us to experience its benefits, which include cost-effective nature of consolidating human and animal health, as well as environmental health as a single system, cumulative improvement in both sectors, ecosystem benefit of environmental friendly approaches, and the improved knowledge and skills, hence improved decision-making. These are the stakeholders highlighted here. Next, please. When it comes to building a multidisciplinary One Health network, to conduct surveillance of CCHF, several issues pose a challenge when having this actualized. They include policy and funding challenges resulting from inadequate resources and inadequate advocacy efforts, insufficient One Health training programs under education and training, barriers to access to and quality of data, and the fragmentation of capacity systems which continue to frustrate surveillance, and the factors curtailing multi-actor collaboration, which include disciplinary silo thinking and the loop-sided representation. Next, please. Our team has come up with a tick eradication surveillance system, Tuangamize Kupe. The targeted users are vets, human doctors, community health workers, environmentalists, and lab technicians. They'll be able to report incidences of CCHF with a suspected, probable, and confirmed classification. We appreciate the scarcity of labs, hence our system will connect labs to healthcare providers through utilization of a referral system function. The mobility of community health workers will seek to address present health-seeking behavior that supports self-administration of treatments. Our surveillance system will also utilize geographical information systems to map out and track the progression of outbreaks in relation to the nomadic nature of pastoralists. Next, please. In prevention, we need to address all possible avenues. Environmental and climatic data correlating to disease risk factor will thus be generated. The distribution of risk factors in relation to climatic changes will aid in speculation of how potential high-risk areas may shift. All this data will be consolidated in a central database, and with the aid of predictive analysis, reports and disease alerts will be generated for feedback utilization and preventative action. We have one world, and all life in it is connected by One Health. We believe our surveillance system, Tuangamize Kupe, will achieve this. Our national rollout plan will focus on prerequisite planning, next slide please, with regional consortiums at the national level to enact necessary legislature to govern the use of e-health apps and application funding. The development of Tuangamize Kupe will then be a human-centered design. Next slide please. During the rollout, advocacy efforts and training of key users on the region-by-region basis will be done. Application deployment will be developed in areas recording highest incidences of tick-borne diseases, coupled with continuous short and long-term monitoring and evaluation. Next slide, please. These are our references. Next slide, please. Once again, Team Kenya, thank you.
Please pin them.
Okay, thank you so much, Team Kenya. Fantastic job, wonderful presentation. We will have one question for your team as well. It will come from Professor Ndola Prata. Ndola, would you like to pose your question to Team Kenya?
Yes, thank you, Valtrina. Congratulations, Team Kenya. Muthoni, it was a great presentation. Congratulations. So I wanted to ask you, during the design of your intervention, what considerations, if any, did you make with respect to gender in that community affected by the epidemic? Gender.
nuko muri iyo ngamo twavuga ko muri administration making sure ko including both genders.
Hello. Please go ahead and answer.
Okay, so in terms of gender, we looked at designing community specific initiatives, which will then explicitly recognize the role of either religious and traditional leadership in terms of social structure, and in terms of gender, would have gender specific considerations, which are then related to the specific service delivery.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, thank you so much, Team Kenya. So with that, we will move on to our next presentation. This is the team from Cameroon. So if we can pull up Team Cameroon slides and give them their 10 minutes to share their ideas on the tick-borne disease case study that was based in Tanzania, I think we will be in good shape. I wish we could all have our team outfits on today. I love that part of this. Team Cameroon, who is your speaker? We can see you, but we can't hear you yet. We may need to unmute.
If you are ready, please start.
Cameroon, we cannot hear you. We can see you, but we need to check your microphone.
And your volume.
I don't know if you can get me now.
Yes.
Yes. Not clear.
Okay, sorry about that. Next slide, please.
Perfect.
So my name is Foko Brandon, student at the Faculty of Health Sciences, University of Boya, representing Team Cameroon. So for today, this is the plan we will follow. It's a short plan. It has introduction, answers to questions, conclusions, and
I think you are breaking. Can you try and remain still so you don't move around?
Yes.
You are breaking. We can't hear you.
Can you get me now? Next slide, please.
And perhaps if it helps, maybe you can turn off the video so that you use less bandwidth.
Yes. Can I go on, please?
Go on.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So zoonosis, what is zoonosis? These are infectious diseases that are transmitted from animals to humans and vice versa. So the case submitted for assessment, it's talking about Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever occurring in Tanzania and is due to a tick-borne disease. Now, in our plan, we intend to use a One Health approach, which involves collaboration amongst humans, animals, and the environment in order to fight this outbreak. Next slide, please. Thank you. So who are the individuals that are at high risk of this? The individuals that we can find on our slide are farmers, livestock keepers, butchers, abattoirs, animal and human health practitioners, wildlife workers, etc. These are the persons that usually come into contact with the tick-borne zoonotic viral disease, which is Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. Next slide. So this diagram was gotten from a survey done from a paper written by Sovillo et al. It shows us the life cycle, and indirectly it can also give us the individuals that are at high risk. We can see the abattoir workers, we can see the farmers, we can see the domestic animals. Next slide. So with respect to recommendations, our recommendations that we can have, we divided them into two groups. That is the general recommendations and the specific recommendations. The general recommendations are to teach the population on how to remove tick, which is attached to their body. What do we mean by that? Many a times when we are bitten by ticks, individuals will usually squeeze that particular part, or we squeeze the tick on the body. So we did a study and we found out that whenever we squeeze the tick, the fluid from the tick, from the pathogen, can still get into the body. So it is advisable to use a tissue or a glove and gently pick up the tick from the body, and you watch the area where you have been bitten. Under specific recommendations, this goes in line along with the various individuals at high risk. For example, the abattoir workers, we will teach them on proper waste management. We'll also teach them on having personal protective equipment during slaughtering, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. With respect to the public outreach materials we can use in this case, this slide shows us the various outreach materials. We can educate the community during community gatherings, for example, in churches, for example, at the marketplace, in schools. We train trainers. Training trainers means making the community own this particular approach that we want. We want to build something sustainable in such a way that even in our absence, it can last. We can do radio or TV communication, and we can also produce posters that we will paste at different strategic areas like the markets, the churches, and the schools. Next slide, please. Now, with respect to efficacy, what can we do to make sure that the work we are doing here is efficient and is sustainable? The first and the most important point, as I earlier mentioned, is community ownership. Community ownership, we use strategic people in the community. For example, we have the local group leaders like the chiefs, certain authorities in the community. We teach them, we allow them to tell us how to be able to implement the plans that we have, and we allow them contribute because they are the ones who know actually the problems in the community, and they know the culture of the people. We also carry out capacity building sessions. These sessions are aimed to motivate the people, to tell them about the importance of what we are doing. We can also give incentives to collaborators. Incentives, for example, we have some personal protective equipment, and we also do some level of evaluation of our work at a short-term scale, how much we have done, what is left to be done, and what do we do wrong so that we can correct it. Next slide, please. On a multidisciplinary task force, we think it is extremely important and recommended in such a case. And this our task force is supposed to constitute two main persons, major stakeholders and supportive stakeholders. Who are the major stakeholders? These are persons like the Ministry of Public Health, Livestock, Ministry of Fisheries, Environment, Agriculture. Supportive stakeholders here are the Ministry of Finance to be able to support such with finances, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Communication to make sure that the information is passed out, the Ministry of Higher Education. But we should know that whatever we do, we must involve the communities there, for they are the major stakeholders. They are the main people that have to do with this project. Without them, no matter the ministries that we get involved in it, we will have no result at the end of the day. Next slide, please. Building a multidisciplinary work task force is not an easy thing. There are generally challenges when different persons come together. So what are some of the challenges we're able to face here? We may be able to face here, We have lack of local expertise, insufficient diagnostic capacity in the country, lack of policies, national policies that can be able to get to this One Health approach, inadequate appropriation of the One Health concept. There is incomprehension of certain roles and responsibilities by the different stakeholders that we have involved. Next slide, please. Now we come to the major question: what is the One Health approach we can use in Tanzania to make sure that we help in preventing this disease? We believe that prevention is the major thing that we can do. And there are so many methods in which we can prevent. The Team Cameroon has selected a few to be able to target which we think are the most effective. Next slide, please. Now, the few methods which we think are the most effective will involve the stakeholders that we earlier mentioned. The first point, we believe in creating a national surveillance to keep track of the prevalence through these stakeholders, to constantly have data on from animal and human health clinics, to be able to know the prevalence of this disease and which of the stakeholders can assist us in this. We have the Ministry of Public Health, we have the Ministry of Livestock. We also believe that we can national policies can be created which are guided towards preventing transmission of these tick-borne diseases. And these policies can also be created by the Ministry of Livestock and Agriculture. So this is how the ministries can assist us to be able to fight this disease. Now, how can we also be assisted at the local level? At the local level, we can make sure that animals to be slaughtered should be constantly checked by the veterinarians, animals that are to be slaughtered at the abattoir. We also believe that we can do routine check by vet at animal ranches. This routine check serves for two purposes. It can help us to be able to detect an outbreak, and it can also help us at a particular point to be able to know if any animal is sick before it is slaughtered. So this is the fourth point. We also believe that at the local level, which can be adapted nationally, there can be production of tick repellents with garlic oil. We did our research and we found out that with garlic oil, we can produce tick repellents. Next slide, please. We also believe that we can plant what we call the chrysanthemums plant. We found out from the research that the chrysanthemums plant is a plant which is a tick repellent. So if we are able to adapt this system where this chrysanthemums plant is planted around animal ranches, is planted in regions of high risk population, is also planted in areas where there are abattoirs, then we will directly reduce the rate of transmission of this disease. Next slide, please. On this slide, we can see the tick repellent garlic oil we spoke about above, which can be produced locally and adapted nationally on a larger scale. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, a tick-borne viral zoonosis with an increasing prevalence, which is a serious public health problem. And we believe that the One Health approach is the most effective. And our One Health approach consists of 6 points, which I will still list: creating of national surveillance, also creation of policies to constantly keep track of the disease. Animals being slaughtered should be checked, routine checkup by vet of animal ranches, production of tick repellent, areas with high incidence of tick-borne diseases should be identified, and planting of the chrysanthemums plant. Thank you for your keen attention.
Thank you so much, Team Cameroon. Very nice presentation. We will have our one question coming from Judge Jongdi Tu Im, who is with us from the Southeast Asia One Health University Network today for this special appearance. So Professor Tu Im, would you like to ask a question of Team Cameroon today? We may need to make sure that the mute is not a problem. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Yep. Okay, I got that because for the first that they not allow me to unmute myself. Okay, great job, Cameroon for COP. But I have a questions on what will be the challenges to apply the One Health concept in the disease prevention and control?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. We identified a number of challenges. The first one being the lack of local expertise. What do we mean by the lack of local expertise? Various individuals coming together, because a One Health approach is a multidisciplinary approach. So we believe that we have various individuals coming together. So there may be a problem in these individuals working together. There may be a problem in these individuals knowing how to apply what we call a One Health approach. We also believe that one of the challenges we may face in the field is that certain stakeholders may not be able to comprehend their roles and responsibilities. Another challenge we may face is that there are no national policies guiding tick-borne diseases. So it may be very difficult to be able to transmit our information to the community. So these are some of the challenges that we believe that we may face in the field.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent job, Team Cameroon. Very nice. Thank you so much for being with us today. Our last presentation, but not at all least, comes from Team Rwanda. If we could pull up Team Rwanda's slides, we will hear from them next. We can see the slides, and who is
Hello,
our speaker
everyone.
for Team Rwanda?
Hello.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yes,
we
welcome.
can. You can start.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I'm by name of Innocent Kawasinga. I'm presenting on behalf of one. Please. On the case summary, as we start, next slide, please. There was Idido division that was near Iringa Forest in Iringa district. Next slide, please. Where a 49-year-old man woke up with the GIT symptoms, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and heartburn, and he took antimalarial medication that was available. The next, please. He later on died due to severe diarrhea, and according to his family, he was a livestock farmer and he worked at the slaughterhouse 2 weeks ago. Next slide, please. Later on, additional people developed additional symptoms like nose bleeding and uncontrolled bleeding at the injection site. Next slide, please. Because the analyses were done, CCHF for primary Congo hemorrhagic fever was confirmed as a transmission as a etiology of this outbreak. This agent is transmitted through the contact of any human body or blood when you get in contact with the body of this infected animal or humans. The next, please. The high-risk people, as you have heard, is farmers, especially those who have poultry houses, the veterinary doctors because they handle animals, livestock workers, animal healthers, healthcare workers, mostly in endemic area, individuals, and international travelers. The next, please. We sat down as a team and we have done some of the recommendations. Starting with the veterinary and healthcare workers, we recommend the proper use of PPEs just to protect them, use of insect on exposed skin, and also wash hands with clean water and soap in contact with humans or animals who are infected. When to the livestock farmers, we control use as deep animals in a parasite or those seek medical care in case they feel they're ill. Use of PPEs, just their animals, and quarantine their animals as long as they see any disease. The next, please. We also recommend the individuals to use their hands with clean water and a soap. Use of in case they are handling animals or infected people, keep distance with infected people, and seek calm food just in case they want to buy cows. Next, please. when we ask about how we are going to encourage and ensure the community with encourage the community, involving them in the decision making, as we'll be planning together to increase only the community. And also we provide educational materials like flyers, establish the local sound system about the signs, symptoms, and measures of CCHF. We also conduct educational workshops to train them. Next, please. We are going to ensure this by establishing the local volunteers to be there to ensure the process of peace, calm movement, and availability. We work with the security in case we want to enforce laws, monitoring, daily monitoring that will be shown progressive reports, and also we do the and evaluation. Next. We were asked how we're going to design the outreach materials. First, based on different criteria. The first criteria is the target population. What are our target population? What are the available sources, means of communication, the literacy level of the population, and also if there is people with disabilities. The next, please. After sitting down, we designed two materials. One is the CHF role play, another is the poster and the flyer. The next, please. The script of the role play. The next, please. What happened? As you're looking ill, I'm feeling bad. I have headache, high fever, diarrhea, vomiting. I'm taking antimalarial medication, but it's not going well. The next, please. Oh, you might have contracted CCHF. It is transmitted through tick bite and also contact with contaminated blood body fluid. Possibly. The next, please. I started 2 weeks ago. My friend, my advice is stay isolated, report calling a hotline, and also rehydrate yourself. The next, please. This is a poster. This poster and a role play all are there just to inform people about the symptoms of this disease, prevention measures, and also transmission measures. The next. These are and also brainstormed about the stakeholders. These are the different stakeholders, which include the local government, healthcare providers, many others. Mostly we included the Ministry of Affairs because this is a transboundary disease. We need to interact with neighboring countries, so that's why we included the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In creating those, they face different challenges, which include low perception on zoonosis among keepers, conflict of interest, culture, weak collaboration, and also prioritization among stakeholders. Next, please. We sat down as a team and we give the idea of establishing a national surveillance network to control and prevent this virus. We'll be working with the stakeholders, and we have a command post that will work with the expert advisory team. This command post consists of 3 units. 1 unit is the epidemiology unit, administration logistics unit, planning and communication unit. Under the epidemiology unit, there will be surveillance, point of entry of screening, like at the start of the district from one district to another district, there will be point of entry of screening, and at the borders of the country. There will also be community surveillance, there will also be quarantine and contact tracing, there will also be data management. In the case management, will be the rapid response team, infection, prevention, control, and isolation treatment to those affected animal or humans. When it comes to innovation, my advice is stay isolated, report calling a hotline, and also rehydrate yourself. When we go to application, not all people can access smartphone, but we believe that majority of people can access this where they can use the USSD code. It's used for reporting, and also the hotline will be reporting the cases. We'll be having awareness and community engagement activities, media and rumors management. The next, please. Different activities will be done at different levels. Starting with the national level, will be Doing a policy making and enforcement, availing resources in the country, coordination as well as coordination. When it comes to district and regional level, awareness, use of fees, and availing OHW volunteers that will help the community. When it comes to the community, because this is the one health we talk about human, animal, and environment. When we come to human, properties of PPEs, insect repellent, exposed skin, screening, isolation, and also on environment, there will be proper waste disposal and environmental cleaning. On animal control, like dipping in herbicide, using DEP, and regular spraying. And also there will be a movement permit. This movement permit is available to the veterinary doctors diagnosing the animal and they are fine. In case a farmer to move their animal from one district to another, or going to there will be also screening and isolation to the infected animals. Thank you very much. That was our presentation. This is Owen. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Team Rwanda. Our connection was a little bit challenging, but I think we caught most of it and the slides were very helpful. We will have our one question for Team Rwanda coming from Professor Brian Bird. Would you like to ask your question now?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Smith. Nice presentation, Team Rwanda, fantastic. My question to you is, how will you engage with the communities where the disease is present to make them understand that this is an important disease to be worried about? CCHF can be rare at times, so how will you convince them that this is important to work on now in amongst all the other disease challenges that we have? Thank you.
Team Rwanda, would you like to respond?
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Happy from Team Rwanda. We will make community understand that this is a very challenging disease and need their attention, because we will be showing them, we keep them informed from the examples and the references of from the people who have been contracting the disease and those who died from the disease. So from those examples and showing them the data that we collected from the history of the cases, then we build from that, convincing them that they have to protect themselves and put in place standard measures that we set so that they can put them in place. Otherwise, we show them that if they don't do that, they die of the disease as their fellows have died of that. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer, Happy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Really wonderful presentations. I will pass it over to Dean Mabel for any closing comments for this session.
Oh, thank you, my co-facilitator, Trina. And thank you, teams Cameroon, team Uganda, team Kenya, team Rwanda, for excellent presentations. We apologize to participants for maybe some connectivity issues, but I believe because of the slides were very clear for all the teams, you were able to follow the discussions. I thank Millie and Winnie in the background for assisting us, and the judges for being here and committing to help us do the assessments. To the teams, thank you. You are all winners, irrespective of what the outcome will be. Having gotten this far, you are indeed a winner. And remember, this is also a learning exercise. So we should really put a premier value on the learning as opposed to just the prize. So we congratulate you as well as your mentors for getting this far and showcasing excellent presentations. Thank you very much. So I would like to close this unless there are any other issues that you would want us to tackle or handle. I would love to end this because of time management so that we can move on to the next session. Thank you very much, and thank you, Professor Otunga, for facilitating. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Nangami and Professor Smith. Thank you for taking us through the global case competitions. And thank you, our dear participants, for keeping with us. And a special thank you to the presenters who have participated in the global case competitions. Let us move on to our next session, which is towards the closing of today's engagement. And the session is on successes and roadmaps for global objectives. We have our two facilitators, Professor Ernest Molua from the University of Biu in Cameroon, and then Dr. Irene Naigaga, the Regional Program Manager at AFROHUN Secretariat. So over to you, our dear facilitators, to take us through the successes and roadmaps for global objectives. Thank you. Professor Ernest?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And welcome to Cameroon. So far, we have had 2 exciting days for the launch of AFROHUN, former OSHEA, One Health for Central and Eastern Africa. We have had an exciting 2 days for our launch on the theme Innovation in the Face of COVID-19. The presentations by the different country teams has shown that a lot of work has been done by the different country teams. They all looked energized. They all looked so determined. The presentations showed that they had some mastery on the ground on the One Health concept and its applications. And even from the competitions, from our students, from the countries of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Cameroon, it shows that even our students, the next generation for One Health, are also energized and have had an interesting buy-in. So this session 5, which takes us to the closing on the successes and roadmaps for global objectives. I will be assisted by Irene Naigaga, our AFROHUN Regional Program Manager. We are going to have a panel that will feature One Health New Generation Global Objective Leads, Professor Ndola Prata, the Gender Lead for One Health New Generation, Dr. Alexandra Zuba, the Objective 3 Lead for One Health Next Generation, Dr. Suzanne Michaels-Stresser, Objective Lead 2 for One Health New Generation, Next Generation, as well as Professor Oladele Ogunsaitan for the Objective 1 Lead for One Health Next Generation. I think at this juncture, if the regional manager, Irene Naigaga, has something to add, she can add to guide the panelists on the brief discussions they are going to have. Irene, do you have something else to add?
Thank you so much, our facilitator. Yes, I'm going to facilitate the panel. So, ladies and gentlemen, this evening I'm privileged to be hosting a panel of experts who will be working alongside AFROHUN as we deliver the AFROHUN promise into the future. My name, as I've been introduced, I'm Irene Naigaga. I'm a program manager here at AFROHUN. Before I invite our panelists to introduce themselves. I'm going to invite the One Health Workforce Next Gen Project Director, Professor Jonah Smith, Jonah Mazet, to give us a brief overview, and really very, very brief overview of the vision of the One Health Workforce Next Gen project. Over to you, Professor Mazet.
Yes, if you could allow me to screen share, please. So while we're making that happen, I just want to let you know it's almost Halloween time here for us in the USA. And so I'm just putting up a little Halloween joy to share with you. We hope our little children will still be able to find their treats, but it's definitely a strange time. As we have discussed, we're talking about AFROHUN, and AFROHUN is much bigger and is growing and beyond just the One Health Workforce Next Generation project, but it is part, just a foundational part of AFROHUN's roots. So we're so happy to be sharing with you some of the global activities that occur that support and facilitate and learn from AFROHUN's creative team. And we're so thankful to the Secretariat for all that they have been doing to make the overall project a success, as well as bringing in all the expertise from all of the universities that are participating. So of course, what we're trying to do and what you've seen highlighted through this whole program is empower the university networks and the curricula of the university themselves to deliver in a sustainable fashion, world-leading model programs to equip professionals with these transdisciplinary skills to address complex global health issues. So you heard the objectives mentioned. I think it's really what we're doing with the objectives that are so critical, and you're going to hear from those leads. I wanted to just show you that gender and other inequities also underlie everything we do. So we're going to start, as mentioned, with Professor Prada talking about the gender piece, and then we're going to revisit and discuss the training and empowerment, assessment and tracking, and organizational sustainability pieces that are so important to us. So starting with gender, it matters. It's incredibly important. And I think AFROHUN is showing, and I've just pulled some photos from your website presence just to show the leadership all the way to the student levels that AFROHUN has been encouraging great gender participation, and we hope to see that permeate through the educational opportunities, really making wonderful professional opportunities for all of our trainees. Organizational sustainability is also critical. And so of course, you're going to hear from Dr. Zuber on that. And we have done a lot of work this year. We've been going through benchmarking and planning and looking at all of our stakeholders, because this coming year, what we really want to do is have new and exciting partnership engagement and all of the systems in place to be able to really lead on a global stage these activities. I think we already are seeing AFROHUN as a leader philosophically. We just need the systems to be as strong as possible to maintain that leadership role with funding from all places, including donor organizations. Then you will hear from Dr. Michael Strasser, who will take us through the workforce assessment and tracking aims. And those are so critical because we need to see where we've been, what our trainees are doing, and where they are going, and how well they are contributing to changing the world. So we're excited to hear about that. as well as the training and empowerment. You have already heard about AFROHUN's Workforce Academy that is so exciting, and you'll hear just a bit more about other curricular activities and our training and empowerment. So with that, I hand back over to Dr. Nagaiga to really take us through this wonderful panel.
Thank you so much, Jonah, for that overview that is very brief but really informative. At this point, I would like to turn back to our panelists. So I'm going to request our panelists, you introduce yourself and give us strategies, highlight for us some of the strategies that you're undertaking or leading on within that broader vision that Professor Mazet has highlighted for us. So tell us your name briefly, and then highlight some of those strategies and how they fit within the broader mission and vision of the One Health Workforce Next Gen project. I will start with Susan.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to some. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. My name is Susan Michael Strasser. I am an assistant professor of epidemiology at Columbia University and also the senior director of human resources for health for ICAP at Columbia University. My background is as a nurse and also a public health professional. I've lived in Africa for 14 years, so know the continent well and appreciate the strengths and challenges that we face together. Our work in Objective 2 is around workforce assessment and tracking, but I'll hand over to my colleagues to introduce themselves first, and then we'll go from there.
Who do we have next? Should we have Dele?
Yes, thank you. Very quickly, Dele Ogunseyitan, I am again honored to be part of this panel and to share this showcase with all of our AFROHUN colleagues. I think I know most, if not all of you. I'm at the University of California, Irvine, where I'm a professor of population health and disease prevention. Training and empowerment is my passion. I am thrilled to work with you to build on all of the accomplishments over the last decade and more to really bring One Health education and competencies to students in the academic world and the professional world across all of the interdisciplinary domains that we call One Health. And the need is never been greater than we face in a world now with repeated pandemics. Our goal, of course, is to ensure that what we build is sustainable and attractive to employers and government agencies that need to place people who are knowledgeable at the forefront to protect the entire population. I work very closely with our colleagues and the sustainability and knowledge management across all of the objectives, and of course, certainly gender is an extremely important part of what we do. The outcomes of outbreaks are often differentiated according to gender in terms of impact, and we want to make sure that all of our programs consider that. So thank you again. I look forward to discussing with you on this panel some of the initiatives that we have. I feel privileged to have been able to share some of the aspects of the One Health Workforce Academy with you, but there are many, many things that we've done together this year that we'll build upon in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dele. I would like to invite Alex. Please
greetings. Sure. Warm greetings, everyone. Habari and bonjour. It is really my pleasure to be part of this showcase today. I have spent most of my, almost all of my 17 years working in capacity building of the health workforce and of health organizations. And before my present role, worked at the US Centers for Disease Control for 10 years under the PEPFAR initiative, which many of you may be familiar with. And I had the chance to work with Susan and others on that initiative. And so we undertook a lot of similar work in building communities of practice, supporting continuing professional development, strengthening pre-service education, information systems, and so on. So I'm really delighted to be able to bring some of that experience to this important work around sustainability and organizational sustainability. And as I left to pursue my doctorate, I began working independently on those same topics. And so I'm representing my own consulting practice, Ata Health Strategies, and could not be more privileged to have the opportunity to work with AFROHUN this year. I have a great optimism that your organization is just going to surpass all of the expectations for this partnership.
Thank you so much, Alex, for that. I would like now to invite Ndola.
Warm greetings to everybody. Thank you, Irene. On the global team, I am the gender lead. I am a professor of maternal, child, and adolescent health in the School of Public Health at the University of California, Berkeley. And I also co-direct the Women's Health, Gender and Empowerment Center of Expertise.
Questions in the chat.
University of California Global Health Institute. So our vision is to create a one health workforce that intentionally and comprehensively addresses gender disparities and opportunities. So the plan is to systematically integrate gender equity into policies, programs, trainings, and all activities. So we will work together to ensure that AFROHUN is a transformative network, and that with its partners has the awareness and the ability to ensure a gender responsive program participation, program results, but also sustainability. So to do that, we want to focus into two main strategies. Conducting gender analysis that will allow us to address gender gaps and create better opportunities, but also to improve the enabling environment so that we can work towards better gender equity.
For those brief overviews about the strategies you coordinate, I would like to hear more from Susan about the strategies that the Objective 2 team is coordinating on the One Health Workforce, the next gen.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Secretariat. In partnership with AFROHUN and SEAOHUN, and I really mean in partnership, we are equal collaborators here working to drive One Health. We are working together to drive international best practices in the development and maintenance of human resources for health, who are able to respond in good times, difficult times, and to prepare, prevent, detect, and respond to public health threats, as we've seen so poignantly throughout this year with COVID-19. We are working together, both driving interdisciplinary work and across disciplines to develop teams, team-based approaches, practical strategies, active problem-solving abilities, as we saw with the case studies, to drive health, to preempt challenges from getting out of control. Objective 2, as was said, is around workforce assessment and tracking. So it really is the other side of the coin to the work that Dr. Dele is leading around training and capacity building. What this objective looks at is 3 primary areas: knowledge management, competence, coordination, and planning. And by knowledge management, we mean developing a repository, a hub, a central database for resources so that we aren't reinventing the wheel, that we are sharing best practices, that we are learning from each other and building from what we have collectively. It also involves alumni tracking to know who our graduates are, where they're going, what they're doing, what their experiences are, to tap into their potential to build better health systems. Website development, again, as part of that repository, that central landing place for information, for knowledge, and a curriculum database so that we are all gathering resources and learning from each other. Competence assessment is the second part or second strategy of objective number 2. And this is driving for excellence through observable, measurable performance. And I like to use the analogy of an airplane pilot. Airplane pilots use simulation, and we all want the airplane pilot to be able to land the plane. And the same is true for health workers in all aspects of health. We want to know that our health workers are competent, that they are leaving school as safe practitioners, that they have the tools and resources at their fingertips. So what we are doing is working together to drive really international best practices in competence assessment through the development of core competencies that are observable, that are measurable, and that are attainable through simulation-based training, through training resources. And we are working together to put resources onto a central repository called Airtable. And lastly is coordination and planning, because in addition to making sure that our health workers are competent, safe practitioners, we also want to work at the big system level to know that we have our staff coordinating with other sectors, with security, with economics, with finance, with all variety, education. And so the last strategy in objective 2 is around platforms, policies, and structures. And this is related to data scans. We've started through EcoHealth Alliance doing very extensive data scans of the coordination bodies and institutions that work within various countries and how those institutions are working together, how those institutions are coordinating together to come up with a cohesive and comprehensive response that is both efficient and effective and drives public health. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to ask one more question to each of you, our panelists. I want you to tell us or tell the participants one aspiration that you'd like to see the One Health Workforce Next Gen project benefit to AFROHUN, but of course within the context of the strategies you're leading on, but also taking into account the context of the structure of the AFROHUN, the Secretariat, and the AFROHUN country chapters. So if you could just speak to that one benefit that you want to see, maybe at the end of you delivering to those strategies that AFROHUN has actually achieved. I will start with Alex.
You know, to use the metaphor of the tree that I had on that objective. Oh, I think I was muted. To use a metaphor of the tree that Jana presented on the organizational sustainability slide. If the branches and the leaves of that tree are your activities, your projects, your strategies, where we are focusing in organizational sustainability are in your roots. How do you make strong roots as an organization that will feed your projects and allow for your expansion over time? So the one benefit, the key area I think that will really be able to support your development is in formulating new partnerships and identifying new revenue generating streams that is going to really fuel the rest of your development.
So much, Alex, for that, formulating new partnerships. I could see Agnes here smiling. I'm going to invite now Ndola.
Thank you, Irene. Yes, so regarding gender, the aspiration would be to establish a gender policy that we already started working on, and an operationalization plan that would allow us to integrate gender into all aspects of the activities of AFROHUN. while at the same time, we will build capacity for gender mainstreaming. So making sure that AFROHUN will be a sustainable network when it comes to gender mainstreaming. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can also see when he's smiling. I don't know who else is going to smile here now at the region of Man-Post. So I would like to invite Dele to give us that one aspiration that we should look forward to as AFROHUN. Over to you, Dele.
Thank you. We worked together to do a curation project this year, but our emphasis in year 2 is the One Health Workforce Academy for AFROHUN. And as Dr. Naigaga said earlier, those 5 pillars are not evenly developed, and we will focus our energies on creating the credential, the One Health Workforce certificate. I think to do that, we need to get buy-in from all of the faculty members. There are very specific steps that we need to take, including the creation of a faculty scholars network for the Board of Examiners to make sure that all of the curation project leads to a very well-defined set of core competencies for an examination, and to engage now in the process of sensitizing employers, government agencies to the academy and the certification process so that we get accreditation and continuing development of trainee engagement with the academy site so that they have everything they need to proceed. Of course, in-service trainees who are not in school will also have the opportunity to take an exam and to build continuing professional development credit. So I see really a convergence of packaging everything that we've been doing so far into a really tangible, visible credential that will be self-supporting in terms of revenue generation, and that we can track through the knowledge management system and visitors to the academy website. So to me, it is a long-term project, but as I said, you begin with one step. I think it's Professor, one of the speakers yesterday said, in a journey of 1,000 miles, begin with one step. We've taken a lot of one steps in these pillars. Now we need to take collective step together to create that certification process to make sure that trainees have the resources at the universities to be knowledgeable and to gain the skills, and that we then test them and assure employers that they're ready for the workforce. To me, this is a big jump, but it is built on ingredients that are already there. So I look forward to working with you all on this.
Thank you so much, David, for highlighting that. And now I would like Susan's one aspiration, and then I'll see whether there are questions in the chat, or if not, we'll go to the top of the closing. So Susan, briefly, that one aspiration that.
Yes, I can be succinct. My aspiration is the same as Professor Dele's. I really believe that certification will drive excellence, and it is showing that we are setting a standard and we are working to have people achieve that standard. So I would say my aspiration is we continue to take those steps towards the development of certification in One Health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan and David. That has put a smile on my face. I'll hold both of you accountable on this One Health certification. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to work with you, all of you. And we appreciate you. On behalf of the Secretariat and on behalf of AFROHUN, we look forward to a bright future of AFROHUN. At this point, I'd like to hand over to Professor Mulua. Can you clap for the panel?
Yeah, oh, Yeah, thank you so much. That was very, very interesting. You know, the panel discussion was interesting and very, very informative with very knowledgeable speakers like Professor Ndola Patra, Dr. Alexandra, Dr. Susan, and Professor Oladele. I think it's now time for us to move proper to our closing ceremony. And Professor Wambura will be sitting in to do the closing ceremony for us. I would like to call on Dr. Irene again, if she can properly help us to introduce Professor Wambura to take over the closing, to chair the closing ceremony for us.
Thank you, Professor Molwa, for that. Before I invite Professor Wambura, who is our board chair, I'd like to invite Watrina Smith. We are all eager to hear the results from the judges of the case competition. So if we could have you, Watrina, announce the winners.
Sure, thank you so much, Dr. Naigaga. So the judges have been very busy in the last little while because all of the student case teams did so fantastic, really wonderful presentations. So I would like to invite Professor Dele and Professor Prata to each share one remark on behalf of the judges today, something they would like to say to the teams, and then we will announce the winners. So Professor Dele, over to you first.
Thank you very much, Professor Watrina Smith. This is what an exciting day it is, and the students always make us proud. Lots of hard work, maybe sleepless nights, I'm sure. And the case was excellent. As you all know, there are two parts. Every team confirmed the diagnosis. They got high marks for that. And then they submitted their pre-recorded videos and made presentations today. We judged them on a wide range of questions that they all presented to the audience today. And it is really, it's tough for judges to make a decision on what is the best team. And believe me, judges argue and don't always see eye to eye, but we are trained to come to a consensus. And so I'm really proud and delighted to be part of this process and to join my other judges who have worked hard and the UC Davis team under Professor Smith's leadership to design such an excellent case. So all of the teams are winners, but our job is to pick one. You all have excellent presentations, so thank you.
Thank you, Dele. Ndola, what would you like to add for the teams after all of this hard work?
Well, I just wanted to add, well, first of all, my congratulations and thank you for the judges. It's an honor to be in the panel of judges. Very difficult for us. The job for us was very difficult because the teams did such an excellent job. And it's really make me proud to see how hard they worked and how they make their presentations. So as Dele mentioned, they're all winners in our eyes, but of course, we have to go into very small details to differentiate who will be the first winner. But thank you, everybody, and they're all sort of my congratulations to all, and it makes me feel proud that the One Health workforce in the continent will continue to succeed.
Thank you, Ndola. So the results have come in. I would like to mention that all the students who competed will be getting certificates for representation of their hard work. The top two teams will additionally receive special prizes, And so they will receive funds that can be used towards additional professional development, and the Secretariat and leadership in AFROHUN can share more details on that. But it is my honor to be able to work closely with our judges panel and to be able to share with you now that hot off the press, the winning team for this year's 2020 student case competition in the AFROHUN Showcase is Team Cameroon. Cameroon has come in with the strongest marks. And the second place team that is coming in also to receive a special prize is Team Kenya. So congratulations to all 4 teams, especially Team Cameroon and Team Kenya, for your really remarkable presentation. So very impressive.
Cameroon, then Kenya.
We are all clapping for you from many different countries in the world. So with that, I will pass over to our next speaker. I don't know, will that be Professor Malua or Professor Wambura? Congratulations to all of the case competition teams.
Okay, I think Professor Malua is, I will stand in, and at this point, I would like, first of all, on behalf of the session chairs, but also on behalf of the AFROHUN network, congratulate Team Cameroon for this big win, and Team Kenya. I know the rest of the teams, Team Uganda, you are winners, Team Rwanda, you are our winners. So I would like to invite Professor Wambura, who is our board chair, to come and congratulate the teams officially, but also to handle the closing ceremony. I know there will be some people giving closing remarks. Professor Wambura, are you online?
Yes, thank you. I'm online.
Over to you, Professor Wambura.
Yeah, thank you very much for all the judges, Trina and Professor Lua for chairing this session and the greater sessions. The winners I've heard is Cameroon, that's the first, and the second is Kenya. Is that all right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so the winner, the first one, Cameroon, will get $1,500 US, not in cash, but in terms of support, in participation in virtual one-related conference or training. So that's $1,500 US goes to Cameroon. Can you clap for them? Thank you. And then Team Kenya will go with $750 US, not in cash, but to support them with registration fees for the March 2021 virtual annual Global Health Conference by the Consortium Universities for Global Health. So that for $750 US goes to Kenya. Thank you. Can you clap for Kenya? So I would like to take this opportunity. All the teams are winners. I've witnessed all of them. They have done a good job. So for sure, it is a really, I hope the judges also found very difficult to find the winner. But most of the cases were very good. Thank you very much for the teams, for the student health clubs, global teams, and all those who are involved in these competitions. And before we go to the end of the close ceremony, I would like to invite Manuel from USAID, please, to have some few remarks before we close the meeting, please. And Professor John Mazel to be prepared after Manuel will be talking. Thank you. Manuel, please.
Oh, yes, sorry, I was just unmuting. Here we go. Thank you, everybody. What an exciting 2 days. It was amazing to see everything that's been accomplished over the past year, and also to be a part of the launching of AFROHUN. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's clear that the AFROHUN secretariat, staff, country managers, administrators, and even the faculty leaders have the capacity and the expertise to achieve everything that's planned for the next year. I think the One Health Workforce Academy is very exciting, but there's other things like the knowledge management system that is really, I think, going to create a platform for AFROHUN to succeed well into the future and help AFROHUN and the countries really begin to better understand the gaps and needs of their country workforces, and to better link with the different country ministries. So I think throughout the 2 days, the AFROHUN and the students have just really demonstrated why USAID has invested so thoroughly and over the past 10 years in these networks. And I think there's so much excitement going on, and there's so much promise for the next 4 years. And I truly believe that the network is going to be positioned by the end of it to be much more resilient and less dependent on aid, but also really more fully achieve its vision. So thank you, everybody. Again, I want to thank the Secretariat for doing such an excellent job, and the One Health Workforce Next Gen Consortium, as well as sometimes the unsung heroes at these things, which are the country managers, administrators, faculty leads, and even the students. So thank you all for doing such a great job. I can just say that we're all very excited where this is going to lead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marian, for kind words for the closing ceremony.
Professor, I'm so sorry. I did also, I realized I neglected to thank the board and the leadership as well of AFROHUN, Professor Bezeo and Dr. Irene and you. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. Much appreciated, Marian. It's a pleasure working with you. Now, let me call Professor Jonah Mazet, please. Professor Jonah Mazet, please.
I don't know if you can hear me. I've lost internet. I want to echo Marilyn's comments. Thank all the organizers, all of the executors for doing a wonderful job taking us through this hybrid, and the board and the teams all over the world that also are participating. So thank you to everyone, and I'm really, really looking forward to a really bright future, because I think our collective trainees, the products of this wonderful partnership, will be the ones that protect the future.
Thank you very much, Professor Jonah Mazet.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, members, I think it's always very difficult when you are tasked to close the meeting. It has been a pleasure for these 2 weeks, and I'm honored to be closing this meeting. On behalf of myself and the board of directors and the management of AFROHUN, I'd like to take this opportunity really to thank you very much, all participants. We have been having wonderful 2 days. Your contributions and presentations are really very valuable to us as AFROHUN. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much, the Secretariat, for your hard work for organizing this meeting, so that it has been a very successful meeting. And it's really innovation in the face of COVID-19, because with all people around the globe and the region, we have participated in this meeting, and it has been really a very wonderful meeting. And all the presentation and the deliberations which has been taking place, we would like to really thank you very much. For the partners from the US and the region, I would like to thank you very much. USAID, Marian should send our appreciation to USAID, and for the 1 year workforce next gen,
directors, Professor Joanna Mazet and Professor Utrina Smith. Really appreciate for your contributions, for your guidance in this endeavor. I also like to take this opportunity. Thank you, Professor Bazeyo, as the Chief Executive Officer of AFROHUN, and the wonderful work he's doing to guide this organization. Also, in the same tone, thank you, Professor David Kabasa, Chief Executive Officer of AFROHUN, for also exemplary leadership. And with the team working very hard under the guidance and the supervision of Dr. Irina Igaga, I would like to thank you very much for the work you're doing. Members, as you can see, 1 year of Next Generation project has been very exciting. In spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, but much of it has been done, and really beyond our expectation at the board of directors. Members, as you have seen from the presentation from the panel speakers, which was conducted a few minutes ago, you could see that we have a very big task ahead of us. And it's a very excitement for us. Those objectives, I'm sure, working together as a team with our US partners in the region, countries, really we can achieve a lot. I would like to really commit myself and the board that we are really committed to support you to make sure that we are successful in our project. Those pillars and objectives and our expectation, I'm quite sure that will be met. One thing I'm really proud of is the wonderful team we have from our US partners, from our sister network, SEAOHUN, from AFROHUN, in the region, the government. I'm really sure that we shall achieve our objectives. Let's work together. I'm very humbled that we have reached this 1 year. What has been done, but we have a long way to go. This COVID-19 pandemic, as you have seen, is one of them. We have been talking about these pandemics for the last 10 years, but you have seen how the COVID-19 has really made great impact negatively around the world, and also have challenged us how to work. You can see we have had a virtual meeting, which was not expected before, but this is really showing that the pandemics are going to continue. But the most important thing, we may not prevent them, but we can be prepared how to mitigate the effects of these pandemics. And that's all what AFROHUN we aspire to, so that we can minimize those effects. I'm very sure that working together, we can tackle them from the source. And AFROHUN is really the source of this pandemic, some of these pandemics, and our sister network, SEAOHUN. So we have a very big obligation to make sure that our areas and the world is safe, and we can work together to make sure that our pandemics are really coming, but we can mitigate them, and we can really make sure that we continue working as well as continue activities. So thank you very much, and I would like to take opportunity. These 2 days have been wonderful to be working with you, and I'm sure a lot have been said and done, but I'm quite sure also a lot has been done to make sure that we achieve our goals. So members, once again, I'll take this opportunity, thank the Secretariat for the wonderful job we're doing. I'm sure we have been having sleepless nights to make sure that this work. Irene, thank you very much with your team for what you have done. It's my pleasure really to have this wonderful team, because when we were talking about this this meeting that 1 month ago, I was not very sure that we shall achieve this much. I was really worried having the distance apart, preparations undergo.